Welcome to IB's Twist on Sports here live from Culver's on this Tuesday night. Beautiful Tuesday night, as we're going to be dipping down into the 60s this evening and into the 50s, low 50s during the weekend, and I can't wait. But you're probably wondering why I started this song with the song Happy by Pharrell Williams tonight. That was the number one song back in 2014, and the Var Raider Nation lost one of their own this past weekend. Class of 2014 graduate, William James Sutter. Will played running back on the 2013 Navarre Raiders team that finished 7-5. In his senior year, he ran for 163 yards and 32 carries. Mainly played on the defensive side of the ball, as I found out talking with Coach Greenhaw, Greg Greenhaw, last evening. Will, may you rest in peace. And may our Lord be with you and your family during these trying times. But what I'm going to do, sorry, get a little choked up. But what I'm going to do is every game, I do an Ian Lockwood player of the game, which is our MVP for each game. We do an offensive player of the game, a defensive player of the game, and a special teams player of the game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to name my defensive player of the game, the Will Sutter defensive player of the game. I ran it through a lot of different people who I trust, and they like it. So I'm going to run with it. So the new defensive player for each game will be the Will Sutter defensive player of the game. And this game, first game, will be this Friday night against Mosley. But, yeah, it's been a little bit of a trying weekend for a lot of our faithful. But we'll pick up our feet, we'll move forward, and we'll do Will proud. You're watching the Irish Bills Twist on Sports here from Navarre, Culver's, downtown Navarre, about a block and a bridge from beautiful Navarre Beach. As you can see, the seat to my right is empty. Say, where's Bob? Where's Bob been in these last 2 weeks? Well, Bob has had a previous commitment. He works the PA for the Walton Middle School football team, so that he's got previous commitments. And and you say, well, Paul filled in last week. Where's Paul? Well, we're called for Paul as well. I should be getting a guest here probably in the next 15 to 20 minutes. A good friend of mine, Jake Warner, his son Noah plays on the freshman team. He's a fellow Hoosier of mine. He grew up in Indianapolis area, and he's went to Carmel High School. And he's a good friend of mine. He's assistant manager over here at Aldi's, and just found out recently that he's going to be the manager of the new Aldi's in Fort Wall Beach. So hopefully we'll be getting Jake in here in a little while. He had practice, so he should be in here in a little bit. Well, let's get back to some football talk. I got to go over the games this past week. Thursday night we had a great one. Bay over North Bay Haven, 31-28. On Friday night, Niceville keeps on rolling with the 42-21 win over Crestview. Pace 55, Gulf Breeze 24, a game that Seminole Bob and I were at, and a game that Gulf Breeze, it was back and forth in the first half, took a 24-21 lead to the half, but it was all pace in the second half, 55-24. Tate over Milton, another district matchup, 45-7. Mosley in a tight one over Childs, another district matchup. The Raiders will see Mosley this Friday night. 21-14, Mosley over Childs. Escambia 35-0 over Washington. Pine Forest over Fort Walton Beach 35-20. Walton over West Florida. The third 3-point loss for the Jaguars. Walton stays undefeated. Catholic over Pensacola 51-7. You say, well, it's the big event of that game. Well, that is Pensacola High's first points scored, and this is game 6 of the season. So congratulations to them for finally finding the end zone. South Walton over Rutherford 31-0. Sewanee over Taylor County 33-9. Godby all over Mariana to knock them from the ranks of the unbeaten 43-21. Wakulla stays unbeaten with the 35-22 win over Rickards. Colquitt County 56, Lincoln 16. Florida High 31, Trinity Catholic 28. Madison County over Jefferson County 51-0. Destin 22, J 6. Destin goes to 6-0 and hands Jay their first loss of the season. Holmes County 56, Vernon 20. Bluntstown 34, Port St. Joe 14. Alberta, Alabama 43, Northview 26. Liberty County 17, Sneeds 13. Baker 42, Lighthouse PCA 12, North Florida Christian 46, McClay 6, Bozeman 47. They stay unbeaten. They go to 5-0 as they beat Freeport 47-7. Monroe-Dade gets their first win of the season as they put a cool 67 spot on Rocky Bayou, 67-7. Cottondale over Weewa 52-30. Osceola Christian 42, Franklin County 8, and Houston County, Alabama 14, Graceville 8. So there's your scores from last Thursday and Friday night. Open weeks last week went to Arnold, Chipley, Choctaw, FAMU, Gadsden County, Leon, Navarre, and St. John Paul II. Well, we're going to jump right in. Well, I'm going to jump right in as Bob, where'd you go? Okay. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done a show by myself, but I have no problem carrying it. So we're going to move right along. Our picks from last week. Well, we're going to do the picks on Wednesday night now because we're finding that on Tuesday nights, we're going to find that Wednesday nights are running a little bit long. So we're going to move all the picks from Wednesday night to Tuesday night. So last week, we welcomed Paul Valentino. There I go again. Paul's going to get all over me on that one. Paul Villanova. And I mess that up at least once a week. And Paul came on and picked for the first time last week. Actually fared pretty well. But Joe, once again, our high school picks, 22-4. Bob, 19-7. And Paul and I went 21-5. On the season, Joe leads by 3 over my actually that is 3. Yep, 3 over myself. Bob's falling slowly down. Slowly. I mean, actually, it's starting to pick up speed a little bit. He's 9 games back at Joe, and Paul's first week 21-5. Pretty good week there, Paul. But here is our picks, our high school picks of the week for this week. The games and the picks, as we have all made our picks. Paul coming back for week 2. I guess he is a glutton for punishment, Joe. Well, here's your games. Friday night games, Mosley at Navarre. Navarre won this game last year. They were trailing by 7. They scored the last 10 points of the game on the road. A Thursday night game. Hard to believe it's been almost a year since that game was played. My son Brady joined me in the booth for that one. We had a really, really good broadcast. And Taylor, he knocks one in. Taylor Gardner from 30-plus yards out for the 38-35 win. Mosley coming back for a little bit of revenge. A younger team, but have a very strong quarterback with Sam Freitas. But all 4 of us are going to be going with Navarre. It is at homecoming night for Navarre. So the Raiders are a selection by all 4 of us. Northview heading to Baker. Baker gets their first win last week. This one's split. Bob and I are taking Northview on the road, and Joe and Paul are taking Baker. Pine Forest at Niceville. This is a battle of the Eagles. One Eagle's been faring a little bit better than the other. Niceville 5-1, Pine Forest 4-2, and we're going with the home team in this one, all 4 of us. Catholic at Gulf Breeze. The Crusaders 4-1 as they came back after a tough loss a couple of weeks ago to a team out of Athens, Georgia. All 4 of us are going with the Crusaders on the road at Gulf Breeze. Pace at Pensacola, no, not a tough choice there. All of us going with the Patriots. Childs at Crestview. Childs, the Timberwolves. All 4 of us are taking the Timberwolves on the road. Mariana trying to get back on the track after their first loss of the season last week, but unfortunately they are going to Walton. Walton 5-0 on the season, and all 4 of us going with the Braves at home. That wasn't a Brave pick either. West Florida at Tate. Here's where we start to split up a little bit. West Florida, a choice of Bob, Paul, and Jay. Actually, I was going to put it P, B, and J. They take West Florida. I am going with the home team in this one with the Tate Aggies. Godby at Washington. Bob, Joe, and I are taking Godby on the road, and Paul's taking Washington with the upset. South Walton at Choctaw. Bob, Joe, myself are taking the home team. Paul going with the Seahawks in the upset on the road. Lincoln on the road at Leon. Not a very far drive across Tallahassee. Not all of us. Bob's taking Leon. Joe, Paul, and I are taking Lincoln. Arnold at Rutherford. All 3 of those guys are taking Rutherford. I am going with Arnold on the road. It's not much of a road trip. It's right across Panama City, but I am going with Arnold in the upset. Florida High at Carrollwood Date. Joe always seems to get one pick every week that makes the difference in the end, and this may be it, as he's taking Carrollwood Day out of the Tampa area, as Florida High has to make that trip down I-10 and I-75 down to Tampa to take on Carrollwood Day. Bob, Paul, and I are taking the Seminoles, and Joe is taking Carrollwood Day. St. John Paul II on the road at Wakulla. Wakulla probably one of the hottest teams, one of the better teams in the area. All 4 of us going with the War Eagles. Destin at Bozeman. Paul is sticking with Destin to stay unbeaten to go to 7-0. Bozeman also undefeated, so something's got to give. Joe, Bob, and I are all taking the home team, Bozeman. Monroe Day at Baker County. All 4 are going with Baker County. Holmes County at Jay. Paul going with Jay. The rest of us going with Holmes County. Osceola Christian at Rocky Bayou. Paul going with Rocky Bayou in this one. I'm starting to wonder if Paul had a little bit too much last night, because a couple of these picks I'm like, really, Paul? But, hey, they're his picks. And there's Bob checking in. Hey, Bob. And Port St. Joe at Vernon. We're all going with the Tiger Sharks in that one. Sneeds at Bluntstown. Sneeds kind of falling off. I saw a big season come out of Jason Patterson after he rushed for over 2,500 yards last year. But the old Sneeds team has lost a lot of players and not to the talent level that they had in 2022. So we're all going with a Bluntstown at home. And will the real Blunts team show up? Franklin County at Cottondale. All of us going with the Hornets at home. North Florida Christian at FAMU. Another Tallahassee matchup. All of us going with North Florida Christian. Jefferson County at Gadsden County. All of us going with Gadsden County, the home team. Weewa, after an upset win over Sneeds last week, we see them all taking over Weewa Gators this week. Hamilton County, we're split as they're on the road at Taylor County. Bob and I are taking Hamilton County, and Joe and Paul are taking Taylor County. Then open a week this week, Bay, Chipley, Escambia, Fort Walton Beach, Freeport, Graceville, Madison County, Milton, North Bay, Haven, and Rickards. Those are your high school picks for the week, and we come back from this commercial break. We'll dive right into our college picks and let you know how we did last week. This is Irish Bill with IB's Twist on Sports from Culver's and Navarre. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
All Dry is 100% veteran-owned and operated. They have a proven process that guarantees customer satisfaction along with job completion to industry standards. In addition to water and mold remediation, they hold certifications in fire and smoke odor control cleanup, trauma, crime scene, and biohazard cleanup. If you're in the Gulf Coast region, including areas in Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi, you can rely on All Dry 24/7, 365. And you can find them on the World Wide Web at www.myalldry.com/Gulf Coast region.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track, whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Welcome back to IB's Twist on Sports from downtown Navarre in Culvers. Thanks to Honey and Randy Smith for allowing us to come into their establishment each and every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. This is our 7th year, I believe, here at Culvers, and time just seems to slip away. And he said, it's not that I can't say it, Joe, it's that I just won't say it. But you're probably wondering once again, if you weren't here for the first segment, I was playing the song Happy. That was the number one song in 2014. And the reason I'm playing that is, unfortunately, the Raider Nation lost another one of their beloved Raiders, class of 2014 alum, Williams James Sutter. Will played running back on the 2013 Navarre Raiders team that finished 7-5. In his senior season, he ran for 163 yards on 32 carries. Mainly played on the defensive side of the ball, as I found out from Coach Greenhaw when I talked to him last night. Will, may you rest in peace, and may our Lord be with you and your family during these trying times. And what I'm going to do, and will honor, every Friday night I give Ian Lockwood Player of the Game, which is the most valuable player of the game, the offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game, and a special teams player of the game. Well, my defensive player of the game is now going to be the Will Sutter defensive player of the game. It's the very least that I can do to keep his memory around. Fortunately, the Raiders have had this happen before. A different incident, not an incident, but Ian Lockwood, suffering from a brain tumor, passed away in 2011, and we've had a few Raiders along the way that have lost their lives. Acosta, and we also had Devin Colonel a couple of years ago. But this I'm going to dedicate the defensive player of the week will now be the Will Sutter defensive player of the game. I got a friend of mine coming in. Going to adjust the camera here a little bit. You're going to sit on the other side of me, Jake? Yeah. It's kind of tough to carry a show by yourself, but I've done it plenty of times. But I'm glad that you could join us there. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jake Warner. Assistant manager over here. I'll get my directions here. Aldi's. Heard you got a new opportunity coming your way.
Yes, sir. Over in Fort Walton Beach. I'm excited.
And so how long have you guys been down here in Navarre?
We moved in May of 2021.
21. So you've been down here a couple of years. We're coming up on 30. We just passed 32 years.
So this is your home.
This is our home. And we've lived in our house for 30 years. And I've been broadcasting Navarre football for the last 15 years.
Nice.
But Jake and I also have something else in common. We're both Hoosiers.
Yes, sir. Go Irish. I'm
a little bit up north than him, just north of Fort Wayne, and Jake's around the Indianapolis area. Carmel High School?
Noblesville High School.
Noblesville High School.
Go Millers.
Go Millers. I remember those. But north of Indianapolis, just a little bit, not far. But we were just getting ready to go over our college picks. Paul joined us last week.
Mr. Villanova?
Mr. Villanova joined
us.
He actually didn't do too bad in our high school games. He went 21-5.
Oh, that's impressive.
But we got a guy out here, Joe Settle. He works on the chain gang at Niceville High. he's been a good friend of mine for years. Last year he won both the high school and our college picks. So he designated himself the pick wizard.
Okay, fair
So He
fair
earned
enough.
it. He earned it.
Right.
But so far he's winning the high school once again. And we're really getting close. Him and Bob are tied for the lead in our college picks.
Okay.
But do you have a freshman game coming up this week?
I do. We Thursday the guys go to Tate.
Tate High School.
It's a rematch with those guys.
That whole program at Tate High School, from their freshman class on up to their current varsity team, has really improved over the last couple of years.
I was impressive with the way they played, and then that was my first time to their high school and their facility.
You got to see
Very
their
nice.
new video
very
scoreboard.
Nice. Yes, sir.
I haven't been out there. My son, he coaches his kicking camp out there every other Sunday, but I haven't had a chance to get out there to see the new scoreboard
It's nice.
since they visited us earlier in the year. How's the freshman team been doing this year?
They're doing okay. There's a lot of moving pieces, obviously, with some young guys getting brought up to JV and to varsity, but they're at 1-3 at the moment. But I see them improving every week for sure.
I mean, you got a couple of the freshmen that are actually dressing for varsity.
Absolutely,
Can
yes.
you talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, Bryce Wheeler is a defensive lineman, and then Peyton Robinson is an offensive lineman. I've coached both of those young men the last 2 years, and they are impressive football players.
Yeah, Peyton actually got into his first game last
he
week,
did.
or the previous week, and what a game that was up at Carroll High School, and a great offensive performance by both teams.
Absolutely.
Navarre just seemed to score a little bit more.
Just a little bit more, and you know what? At the end of the day, that's all that really matters, right?
That's all that matters. But freshman team, your son Noah
Yes, sir.
plays court. Does he play both ways?
So he's been a quarterback all year. He's used to playing defense. I think they may try to experiment with a little bit of defense side of the football this coming week. So we'll see how it goes.
No, definitely. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make that because you know who's playing, even though they really don't show up every Sunday.
I was afraid
we're
this
going
was
to talk
coming.
a little bit about that after we get through our college picks.
Sure.
But I am a very dissatisfied customer.
I would be too. You know, I think the rest of the country's right along with you. Those who aren't Bears fans feel for you. So.
And I don't mean to throw this pun in there, but they've been rather embarrassing.
Oh, you're not kidding. Emphasis on embarrassing for sure.
But our college games last week, we were pretty even. Paul, Bob, and I went 20-5, and I'm going to read just some of our overall numbers as we go.
Because those records are impressive.
Joe, you finished last, Joe. You're only one game back, but you finished last. I got to rub it in when Joe finishes last.
Sure.
He went 19-6.
Absolutely.
Which is still 76%. But for the season, overall, Joe and Bob are tied at 121-13.
They're tied at that?
They're tied at that.
That's
we
incredible.
don't play spreads.
Sure.
We just pick them straight up.
Straight up.
But going into last week, Joe had only missed 7 of the first 109 picks.
So that's incredible. I mean, only missing 13 games out of 130 some odd is very impressive.
I know we get a lot of mismatches early on, and I'm a couple games back. I'm in last at 88.9%.
That's still very
119
good.
and 15.
You guys know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we know our football. Sometimes I wonder if Bob does, but especially high school. Some games that he picks. But this week, these are the games we're going to pick. A couple out of the ordinary. We usually try to pick top 25, but with some of them playing each other, we had to pick some other games to get to 25 games. So Thursday night, Sam Houston State at Liberty. All of us going with the Flames.
Sure.
Western Kentucky at Louisiana Tech. 3 of us going with Western Kentucky, and the oddball out, Mr. Villanova goes with Louisiana Tech at home.
You got to go. You got to try to make that difference up, right?
Yeah. Kansas State at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State having a pretty poor season. We're all going with the Wildcats on the road. Nebraska at Illinois. Nebraska team still trying to find
struggling.
themselves under new head coach Matt Rule.
Right.
And they're at Illinois. Illinois struggled last week, but 3 of us, Paul, Joe, and I, are going with Illinois. Bob's going with Nebraska. Maryland at Ohio State. All of us going with the Buckeyes, but don't be surprised if the Terrapins upset the Buckeyes this weekend.
Yeah, with Tua's younger brother is really leading the Terrapins to a
We
good
call him
season
Threa.
So far. Threa. That's
Tua,
good.
Threa,
I've
yeah.
not heard that one. I like that.
And next we got a really good matchup between Tigers, LSU at Missouri. Missouri's defense really strong this year. LSU gave up way too many points last week in a 55-49 loss. But all of us are still going to go with LSU on the
Sure.
road.
Eli Drinkowitz has done a really good job with Missouri, but I just don't think there'll be enough for LSU.
Oklahoma at Texas. This is my upset pick of the week. You know, the Red River Shootout, it's anybody's game.
Sure, absolutely.
So those guys are going with the safe bet in Texas. I'm saying Lee Course, not so fast,
Not
my
so
friend.
fast.
I'm going with Oklahoma in the upset. Washington State, what a season Washington State
It's
is
been
having.
incredible, right? They've played really well.
They're going to L.A. to face UCLA. All four of us going with the Cougs. Syracuse at number 14, North Carolina, with one of the best young quarterbacks in Drake May.
Drake May is incredible.
All of us going with Tar Heels at home. Wake Forest at Clemson. Struggling a little bit, but Clemson's is still tough to beat at home.
Definitely at home.
All of us going with Clemson. Rutgers at Wisconsin. This is going to be a really good game. Rutgers has been really strong early on. Wisconsin's homecoming, so they got a little bit extra to play for
absolutely.
this week. As does Navarre this week with homecoming.
Absolutely.
Marshall going to North Carolina State. Paul pulls the Thundering Herd upset pick. I think he's down. He's going to lose that one. As they go to North Carolina State, the rest of us take the Wolfpack of North Carolina State. Number 11, Alabama at Texas A&M. I was very close to picking the Aggies in this one. They've been playing really good ball.
They really have improved.
And Alabama is still struggling a little bit at quarterback.
Yes, they are.
But you just can't really go against the Tide.
Well, as
most
they say,
weeks.
once you have multiple quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. So we'll see if they can figure that out.
Okay, Virginia Tech at Florida State. This is a romp for the Seminoles here. UCF at Kansas. We're split down the middle. Paul and Joe are taking the Knights on the road, and Bob and I are taking the Jayhawks at home.
I think Kansas has looked really impressive as of late, too.
Kansas is one of the few schools that is looking at Terrence Marshall as well.
Oh, outstanding.
Kansas State, Auburn are all looking at Terrence right now. Vanderbilt at Florida, no problem for the Gators here, even though Vanderbilt has given them some troubles over the years. Number 20, Kentucky, really impressed with upsetting, well, not really upsetting Florida. They were the better team last week. They're going to number 1, Georgia this weekend. All of us going with the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs survived a scare last week against the Tigers.
They've had a couple this year that have been a bit surprising.
Notre Dame, number 10, going to number 25, Louisville. That's going to be one heck of a game. The Irish can get – I want Navarre. I'm always thinking Navarre on the mind. Notre Dame coming off a very hard-fought win on the road against a very, very strong defense of Duke.
Yeah, that is a good football team.
Sam Hartman put them on his shoulders and rose them to glory. But one event that happened at the end of that game, the quarterback, Riley Leonard, got hurt for Duke on the last play for them. But instead of going to celebrating with his teams, Sam Hartman walked across the field, waited till Riley Leonard came out of the medical tent, and just to check on him to make sure that he was okay.
A sign of a true leader.
Most definitely. And gosh, he's just too darn good looking. Dude.
Some guys get all the good
He's got the
looks.
best beard. My wife even likes watching Notre Dame games because of him.
Yay.
So, but he's a little young for her.
Sure.
Next, we got all of us going with Notre Dame. Number 2, Michigan going to Minnesota. Pretty much cupcake schedule so far for Michigan.
Yeah.
Arkansas going to Ole Miss. Ole Miss put up 55 on LSU. I think they'll do the same against Arkansas at home. Colorado, the surprise team at 23, heading to Arizona State with the quarterback. You remember this guy, Drew Pine?
I do.
Former
Yes, I
Notre
do.
Dame quarterback. I think Colorado will have no problem with
Yeah,
Arizona
I think
State.
they get this one.
Georgia Tech going to Miami of Florida, number 17. All of us going with Miami, yet to be really tested on the season. Fresno State, the second longest winning streak in the country in FBS right now.
Yeah, I heard
games.
that after they beat Purdue, and they've won a few after that, but impressive team.
So the 1 and 2 longest winning streaks are both Bulldogs.
That's
Georgia
crazy.
and Fresno State.
Sure.
Number 15, Oregon State, led by DJ Uiagalelei. They're heading to Cal Berkeley. Shouldn't be any problem there. And Arizona heading to number 9, USC. USC almost gave one away last weekend.
They did. You know, I was talking to Noah about this, actually. We've been very impressed with Caleb Williams. He is an absolute stud at quarterback. Somebody, whether it be your Bears or who it may be, is going to be very lucky to get him.
Well, I've been talking about we'll talk about the Bears here in just a second, but your AP poll came out the other day. Georgia State's 1, Michigan 2, Texas 3, Ohio State 4, Florida State 5. I mean, you could swap any one of those three teams, Texas, Ohio State, in that 3, 4, 5 spot. Penn State playing really strong here early on. Washington, I think Washington might be the second best team in the country right now.
And you're right about that. They've played great.
People say, well, they haven't played anybody. Who has Michigan played? Tell me.
Sure,
Come on.
sure,
Come on,
sure.
tell me. They will, though. They got Penn State and Ohio State on the schedule down the road. Oregon looking really solid on offense, and their defense is actually playing pretty strong here early in the season. Notre Dame at number 10, Alabama 11, Oklahoma 12, Washington State, the Cougs, God, what a year they're having, at 4-0 at 13, North Carolina at 14, Oregon State 15, Ole Miss 16, Miami, Florida 17, Utah at 18, 19 at Dukes. They stay there, even though they lost to Notre Dame. Kentucky at 20, 21 Missouri, 22 Tennessee, 23 LSU. The only team with 2 losses in the top 25. Fresno State sneaks in at 24, and Louisville does the same at 25. But, okay. We're going to skip over now and talk about my Bears.
Sure.
You can throw your Colts in afterwards.
Sure, absolutely.
I am from Indiana. If I wasn't a Bears fan, I'd be a Colts fan.
Understandable.
But because I definitely would not be a Packers fan. I don't care if I'm married to one, married to a whole family of Packer fans. Will never, ever. They could be the last team in the league, and I still wouldn't root for them.
Sure, I understand that.
And Bob Grant is a Packers fan as well, so oh well.
What are you going to do? You can't save them all.
Let's get back to this game. First 3 quarters is I was like, which Bears team is this? I have not seen this team show up like this in probably about 2 years.
Right. Justin Fields, he people were down on him at the first couple games, and he came out this last game and really looked like the Justin Fields of old that we're used to. So I'm not really sure where to place him at this point.
But connects on his first 16 passes in the game, a Bears record. The final percentage, 28-35, also a Bears record. Threw for over 300 yards his first time. You have a 100-yard receiver. You have a 100-yard rusher. How do you lose a football game when you meet those 3 criteria with 300 yards passing, 100 yards receiver, and a 100-yard back?
Yeah, that should lead to a win every single time. I just keep going back to the same thing with the Bears, and that's the leadership. Whether it be the coach, the general manager, the ownership, it's leadership.
Most definitely. And, I mean, I think they took the foot off the brakes a little bit when you get a team like that, like Denver. I mean, up to that point, they'd given up 98 points in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
You keep putting it in the end zone.
Sure.
Well, you get down to the end, they still got a 7-point lead, and he goes back to pass. But one thing that Fields has done is he turns his back to the line of scrimmage when he's like getting ready to do a fake, and right as he turned around, boom, pick up the ball to go in and score.
Sure.
Tie ball game. But the most disappointing part of that game, they came back, they worked down, got down to Denver's 18-yard line. 1 yard to go. 4th down. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's 28-28. You got to put points on the board.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
The only thing that's been consistent for the Bears over the last 2 years is your kicker, Cairo Santos. He has not missed a kick this year. Why do you not put points on the board in that situation?
Yeah, I think in that situation with the way their season has gone, you've got to give them the lead at that point, and you got to go out and win the game. I think you got to go for the points.
And you have an experienced quarterback on the other side. They ran off 21 straight points. You got to put points on the board to stop the momentum and give something positive. Now, if you did it thinking, well, my defense is not going to stop them, then shame on you.
Right. Because you're at least putting pressure on the offense of Denver to try to go down and score.
I mean, Russell Wilson, he's done it plenty of times. He's brought teams back, and they have one of the best kickers in the league. So once they got in field goal range, I knew the kid was going to make it. But then you come back down to the last play. They have a chance. They're driving. He gets an intentional grounding on 2nd down. one thing you just cannot
No, you
do
can't.
when you're playing in the last 2 minutes of a game.
That's shooting yourself in the foot. You just can't do it.
Then he tried to force one across the middle, hoping that Cole Kmet, who had one heck of a game to begin with, 2 touchdown receptions, hoping that he would make an adjustment. Well, you can't count on that. You got to make the play.
You have to make the play. You can't. I mean, you have teammates out there, but you can't rely on others. You have to go out and be the one to make the play. Absolutely, I agree.
But so, yeah, things were not very quiet in the Hamill household on Sunday afternoon. I mean, the last 3 weeks has not been very, very pleasant. I leave at halftime 2 weeks ago to go play golf, but luckily I shoot one of my best rounds I played.
Hey, that's
a
the
while.
way to do it.
Last week, I didn't even make it to halftime. I went in the bedroom and I was listening to this classical jazz music, just trying to calm
the
down.
nerves down, right?
And this week I was like, 3/4. We might just do this. We might get a win. No, they're Chicago.
Got to play 60 minutes.
But what I feel sorry for the most is those fans.
Right.
These fans are loyal and faithful to Chicago, and you treat them. The organization treats them. Not anything against redheaded stepchildren, but that's the way they've been treating us fans over the years. And you're as a coach, you know what I'm getting ready to say. As a coach, your job is to put your team in a position to win.
Absolutely.
Coach Eberflus did not do that.
No, he did not. And that goes back to, one example is the field goal. I mean, help your team. Help your team, put them in a position to win the game.
Most definitely. Talk a little bit about your Colts.
Yeah, I've been really excited with the way they've played. So now that we are in Florida, I keep an eye on a lot of the Florida schools. And so I knew about Anthony Richardson, and I knew everyone was saying he was a project. But Colts fans have been very impressed with what we've seen so far. He is a very mature young man. He works very hard, and he does all the little things. He's in the facility, first one in there, last one to leave every week. And, we couldn't be more happy. We lost a tough one against the Rams this past weekend. But that's growing pains.
Most definitely. And I can probably put my hand up as the one that was not in favor of that choice.
Sure.
But he has proven me wrong.
Yeah, and that's okay. There was a lot of people out there saying, he couldn't do this or couldn't hang in the pocket, couldn't read a defense. But so far he's proved a lot of people wrong. He needs to learn how to keep himself healthy.
That's a point. The next point I was going to bring up. As a quarterback and the millions of dollars that you are making in one of the most valued positions in all of sports, it doesn't matter what sport it is, he has to find a way to make sure that he stays healthy.
Absolutely. One of the things I've always told Noah growing up is one of your best abilities is availability. If you can't be there, then you're not really any help to your team. So keeping yourself healthy is very important.
Well, most definitely. Well, we're going to go on and take a commercial break, and we'll be back with the rest of our show. Jake Warner is sitting in with me here for the final few minutes of tonight's show. And this Irish Bill with IB's Twist on Sports from Culver's in Navarre. We'll be right back.
Craig Culver of Culver's.
Before farm to table, before field to fork, there was just good, wholesome food. Grown by America's farm families, prepared fresh at Culver's, and always served with a smile. We still cook every Butterburger to order using fresh 100% Midwest beef and craft our frozen custard right in the restaurant using family farm fresh dairy. So thank you, farmers. Welcome to Delicious.
All Dry is 100% veteran-owned and operated. They have a proven process that guarantees customer satisfaction along with job completion to industry standards. In addition to water and mold remediation, they hold certifications in fire and smoke odor control cleanup, trauma, crime scene, and biohazard cleanup. If you're in the Gulf Coast region, including areas in Florida, Alabama, and Mississippi, you can rely on All Dry 24/7, 365. And you can find them on the World Wide Web at www.myalldry.com/Gulf Coast region.
Thinking about selling your property? Call Ursula Householder of Coldwell Banker Realty in Navarre now. The consultation is free, and Ursula uses the best tools the industry has to offer. Her years as a top producer, relocation specialist, and Florida military market specialist will help you get the desired result. If you are buying, Ursula's experience will help you make an informed decision to find the right home for you. And if you mention this advertisement, Ursula will donate $100 to the Navarre Raider Quarterback Club when the deal closes. To find out if you qualify for any of the military rewards, call or text 850-642-5711 or email ursula.householder@cbrealty.com or go to urhouseholderhomes.com. That's urhouseholderhomes.com. Go Raiders!
A strong work ethic takes pride in a job well done. This is the kind of person you need. Express Employment Professionals can help because we understand what it takes to hire the right person. It takes real people, real interviews. We find good people, matching the right skills with the right jobs from the production floor to the front office. Express knows jobs. Get to know Express. Go to expresspros.com to find a location near you.
University Lending Group, located in Harvest Village, is Navarre's local mortgage lender. If buying, selling, or building a dream home is in your future, you need to contact University Lending Group. Jennifer Gomes and Stacy Wright are the loan specialists who have the experience to take you step by step to make your buying, building, or selling experience smooth. See University at 752 Navarre Parkway, Suite 56, or call 850-396-0322.
Great teams have great support. The Navarre Raiders have one of the best support organizations, the Navarre Raiders Quarterback Club. All the members see to it that the Raiders have all available necessities to keep the Raiders on track, whether it's seeing to it that they're properly fed, have good transportation, or making sure that all Raider fans can watch and hear all exciting Navarre Raider football action. The Navarre Raider Quarterback Club is there to make it happen. Thanks, Navarre Raider Quarterback Club, for your support of your winning Navarre Raiders on IrishBillSports.com.
Like yesterday, but it was long ago. Jane, it was lovely, she was the queen of my night. There in the darkness with the radio playing low and the secrets that we shared. Mountains that we moved.
Welcome back to IB's Twist on Sports from Culver's in downtown Navarre. It's Irish Bill with my good buddy over here, Jake Warner, his son Noah, on the freshman team at Navarre. Let's go back to the text line. Paul, I've not been ignoring you, Mr. Valentino. That one was a joke. Without the records, he said it's hard for me to. I don't have a clue on some of these teams. That's why you need to get out and do your research. Tell Jake that me, Mr. Villanova, was my dad. Always call me Paul.
Understand, Paul.
The advantage that Notre Dame had on the last play is that they remembered to put 11 guys on the field.
That helps. That does help.
Ouch. New name for you, Reds player Billy Hamilton. I'll accept that. I love Billy Hamilton. He played over here in Pensacola, and I thought that guy was going to break every stolen base record.
I did too.
But he just couldn't get on base enough in Major League Baseball. He said, Jake, you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
He said, and he loved running against the wind, and that's why I played it, Paul. It was just for you. You believe that? But let's talk a little bit about the game coming up this Friday night. Last year, Navarre goes over to Panama City, a Thursday night game. My son Brady joins me in the booth for the very first time. We were actually not in the booth. We were actually on the visitors' side up at the top of the stands. Brady did a great job. Navarre trailing late in the game, 35-28. They scored the last 10 points. The last one on I believe a 33-yard Taylor Gardner kick with 4 seconds left on the clock to come that make that trip back from Panama City a little bit more happy.
Yeah, you don't want to take that bus ride after a loss. It's a little rough.
Yeah, especially when we went to Carroll a couple of weeks ago. That was a 2.5 hour drive, and the worst part is the drive home in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the back roads in Alabama and Florida, and the deer that are running right now. Well, I got to tell you, most of these people have heard my deer story. I don't know if I've told you. December of 21, I'm coming back from my friend's house in Munson, Florida, which is just outside of Milton, a few miles, and it's about midnight, and a deer runs in front of me, and my car's just 6 months old, brand new.
Oh, no.
And I tried to slam on the brakes. Unfortunately, my car and the deer came to a mutual agreement.
Oh, no. That's never good.
He didn't survive, but my car did, but a lot of damage. Well, about 18 months later, I had to replace the transmission in my car. So I think this car is only 2 years old. Well, my son talks me into letting him take my car to the Ole Miss Mercer football game. On the way over to Ole Miss, Oxford, he hits a deer in Alabama.
Oh, that car is cursed.
That car is deer cursed. So we just finally got a shout, and I want to send a great shout out to the Bayside Collision. They've taken care of my car twice now for deer hits, one on the front, on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. But they do great work, Bayside Collision. Hopefully I will never, ever have to come see you again, but thank you for what you did to get my car back out on the road. Let's get back to the game Friday night. Navarre hosting a very talented Mosley team with I think one of the better young quarterbacks in the area. With Sam Freitas, he did a number on us last year as a sophomore. Back as a junior, they're 4-2. Raiders had their bye week last week. Hopefully back healthy coming into this week.
It's so important. It's so important that they get healthy. Absolutely.
You got homecoming up, so it's a big event for Navarre. Last year, the Raiders weren't successful on homecoming, so hopefully they can turn the tables coming into this week.
Yeah, if you can't get hyped up or fired up for homecoming, check your pulse. That's all I can say.
Paul goes, oh, dear. You spelled deer wrong, Bob. It's D-E-R. So it's double E. Get your deers right. Get your deers in a row. Anyways, Navarre comes in. 3 straight wins for the Raiders after falling to 0-2 to start the season. 45 against Tate in a 45-42 win. 45, well, actually, that was the first one was against Rickards. A big win there. And then Tate, they held on thanks to a Tyrell Marshall field goal block
Tyrell
at the end of the game. And then they go on the road and put it 49 up against a very good Carroll team.
Yeah, the offense has really turned it around recently, putting up a lot more points. Connor Matthews has done a good job. Hunter has done an excellent job. And then obviously the receivers with Hanson and Marshall.
Well, you're creeping up. You bring up Hunter. Hunter is creeping up the history board at Navarre High.
I wondered. I'm glad you're bringing this up.
And this is something that I put together.
Okay.
As you can tell, I take pride in my stats. Well, Hunter is currently 5th overall in passing yards with 2,889 yards, only 9 yards behind Sage Chambers. He'll have a hard chance to get to Matthew Webb, the leader, at 4,400 yards, but he could probably finish up as high as probably 4th in his career. But where he's about ready to break with his 6 touchdown passes this year, Hunter is now up to 30 career touchdown passes, 2 behind Matt Webb and 4 behind Marlon Courtney III with 34. So a very reachable mark for Hunter with 5 games remaining here in the 23 season at the very least.
Absolutely, and with the weapons he has, there shouldn't be any issues with getting to that.
And also some other numbers. We're going to go to wide receiver Terrence Marshall. If he would have got in the first 2 games, these numbers would be even higher. Right now he's sitting with 1,404 career receiving yards, which places him 6th overall behind these some names. Dante Wright, currently playing at Temple. Jordan Leggett, national champion at Clemson. Jordan's older brother, Brad Leggett, he played at Florida Tech. Tyler England, currently playing at Huntingdon, had 124 yards and 2 touchdowns this past weekend. And one of my favorite receivers, the diminutive one, Chris Weaver, back in 2005 to 2007. 5'6", about 145 pounds, but one of the best route runners and the best hands out of a receiver that I've seen at Navarre.
It's amazing what you can do to overcome size when you work on technique and execution.
And Terrence comes in at number 6. Gatlin Casey played 4 years at Lehigh, then got a senior transfer year, a graduate year at Middle Tennessee State. So everyone on this list except Chris Weaver went on to play football in college at the next level. Terrence is already at 13 touchdown receptions, which puts him tied for third with Gatlin Casey. Dante Wright leads the way with 29 in his career. Brad Leggett with 20. Gatlin Casey with 13. You would think George Leggett was up there. He actually only had 12 in college and high school, and then rededicated himself once he got to Clemson.
Sure.
But and Terrence with 75 receptions in his career, which puts him 6th on the list, behind Brad Leggett with 118, Jordan Leggett with 117, Dante Wright with 112, Chris Weaver with 97, Tyler England with 92, and Terrence Marshall with 75 right behind him. You might remember this name, guy by the name of Michael Carter.
I've heard that before.
With 74 receptions, despite all the yards that he amassed on the ground. You say, well, how many yards was that, Bill? Well, I got to look over here to that's the defensive stats. Got to get down to my rushing stats. Michael, in his career, finished with 4,540 yards and started playing his freshman year on varsity. Very few freshmen get to play at Navarre on varsity. But 4,540 yards with his senior year, 2,536 yards, 47 touchdowns his senior year.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's mind-blowing.
He put up a whole team season stats that year by himself.
Wow.
And this was fresh off of his junior year where he only played 3 games as he got hurt in game number 3, was out for the rest of the season. But Navarre went on to have their first undefeated regular season at 10-0. Unfortunately, he fell out in the first round in double overtime to Tate. But even that's where Hassan Williams stepped in. But who's starting to – you brought up the running attack for Navarre. Connor Matthews, the last 3 games. 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns. The simple math for 4. That's 11 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
That's awfully impressive. He runs so hard is the thing I noticed.
Well, he reminds me. We had a little guy a couple of years, Chris DeCorte, not as big as Connor, not as big in the legs as Connor. In fact, I told his dad Clay. I remember the first time Clay came on and he was texting. I said, "Clay Matthews, is that the real Clay Matthews for the Green Bay Packers?" He said, "No, I'm Connor Matthews' dad, Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force." So we got that fixed. My wife was like, "Is that Clay Matthews?" I had to go through the same thing with her.
Right.
But Connor, 13 touchdowns on the season through the first 5 games, 747 yards. Really picked it up with a 236-yard performance against Carroll.
Absolutely.
And already in his career, as you can tell, I like Excel.
I see that. It's good for the listeners.
It most definitely is, and it keeps me. I've kind of turned into the historian for Navarre football, and how about that Raider D? Turned it around from the first 2 games. Yes, you're right, Paul, Mr. Valentino. I'm not going to let you live that down. Oh dear. But gosh, it's just. I hate having. I should say my word. That's a bad word in our house. I dislike having a week off where I don't get to call Navarre Raider games this last week.
Kind of throws you off a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. So Bob and I went down and watched the Gulf Breeze Pace game because Navarre still plays those 2 teams. So it gave us a chance to kind of go down and do some scouting before the Raiders play both of those teams.
There's some impressive players on both of those teams.
Very impressed with Pace quarterback Nick Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Pace known for the ground attack 90% of the time, but I tell you, he can pass the ball, and he's got some big weapons, big tight ends to throw the ball to. In their running game, he leads a rushing attack as well. Gulf Breeze, Battle Alberson. You can't say enough about that young man.
Great quarterback.
He has put that whole team on his shoulders. Coach Gerke in his first year coming down from Tennessee, they switched to a air raid attack. I mean, they hardly run the ball unless they really have to. And he threw the ball 47 times this past Friday night, completed 28 of them. But they just kind of ran out of gas in the second half, and Pace ran off 41 straight points in a 55-24 win.
Yeah, I was shocked when I seen a couple weeks ago they put up 72 points in a game. That was incredible.
Yeah, and Pace is both teams. The one thing that I did take away from it was the kicking game. They're very good at making their extra points and short field goals, but the kickoffs are a little short, and I think that could be the benefit of the return game of Navarre back there with Tyrell Marshall, Terrence Marshall, and Nate Hansen.
The attack of those three guys, they do a very good job in the open field, and with those short kickoffs, they should be able to take advantage of them.
Most definitely, and it's all about field position. And that's what Pace got, because the Gulf Breeze kicker was not putting it deep, so they were returning them, or they were just calling fair catches and having the ball between the 40 and 50-yard line.
Sure.
And that's great field position, especially when you got a team as explosive as Pace High. So I think the Raiders will be okay. Pace worries me a little bit. I think Gulf Breeze will be okay. We got Milton coming up as well. Milton is the team that gave up those 72 points to Gulf Breeze.
Yes, they were.
We will have to travel up to Milton and Pace, but I like our chances against Milton and Gulf Breeze. And that Pace game could decide the district title.
I think so. I think you're right. We better come prepared for that one. Navarre should.
Bob. Seminole Bob checking in. Says Arnold High has not scored yet. Yes, they have, Bob. Go look at your stats again. Arnold has scored this year. But I am going with the upset in that one. And he said the Pack still own the Bears. I can't argue that right now. I mean, guys, I have no defense.
You don't have much in your repertoire for that.
Can I plead insanity?
At this point, you may have to.
But, well, we hope that you have enjoyed the show this week. I thank Jake for coming on.
Thank you for
spend
asking.
a little time with us, and hopefully we'll have you back on in the future.
I would love to.
And if we can ever pry Bob back out and get him back out here sitting next to me, yeah, lame excuse. You got a football game at your middle school. You're a teacher. I understand. Well, lame excuse. But for this has been Irish Bill on IB's Twist on Sports with Jake Warner. We'll see you back tomorrow night as we'll be at Buffalo Wild Wings just down the road behind me, and we'll have the Buffalo Wild Wings coaches show. So for Jake and myself, have a great night, folks, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night.